What is going on, everybody? It is March 12th, 2024. Daily log episode over NQ and live stream review. So yesterday I said it was the 11th or the 12th. It was the 11th yesterday. So have to catch myself some days. If you guys were in attendance to the live stream today, I hope all you were. I hope the ones who watch these daily logs, they are in attendance to the live stream. Of course, if you have schedule issues and things like that, I understand. But for the most part, if you're watching the live streams and you go back and you watch the daily logs, I think it's just such a good back and forth confluence just to see what happened overall. But you saw me sit through another day not taking a trade again. So this is a common theme, at least for my style and the way I trade and just what has been happening the last several weeks. I typically don't trade the first 2 days. So I trust that. I lean on that. People are quick to forget that being patient is profitable. If you think about last week, me waiting the first 2 days and then Wednesday taking the trade, and even the week before that, people are quick to forget when you move into a new week that this is probably a common theme. And guess what? It's okay to wait 2 days. Like this fresh new week, everybody's, to me, I feel as if people are panicking. They just don't know what to do, right? And if they see me waiting, they see me doing nothing for 2 days. Again, the thing you're wrestling with when you're not doing anything, even me internally, is when you're not doing anything, it feels like you're not moving forward. It feels like you're not progressing. And it feels counterintuitive to what everything else is basically in life when it comes to entrepreneurship, comes to success. Everything else is really push, 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 move forward, more sales, more calls, work harder, more sets, more reps, whatever it is. But in trading, it is the complete opposite. And you have to reprogram your mind to constantly understand that when you're doing nothing, you're paying yourself. And I know it's a common saying and it's really cliche, when you do nothing, you're getting paid, but people don't really understand that. You really have to program your subconscious to understand it. It's the reason why I say these things over and over and over again, not for you guys' sake, for my own sake. When I say I'm not doing anything today, it doesn't matter. Not missing a trade stop today, that's not a mistake. I'm constantly programming my mind subconsciously because your subconscious does not know between a lie and a truth. So when I'm telling myself this, I'm programming myself to understand that, yes, it's fine to sit on a day like today where my model's not here. I'm not confident. Even intuitionally, I can just feel with 6 years of experience doing this, whether an environment is correct or not. And some of you may not be able to relate that. And it's just time and experience. So I just want you all to emphasize really in your own journals and on yourself after the video is it's perfectly okay to sit out days where price is moving. It may have printed some type of model, but it may not have been high probability. In hindsight, I'll show you, you could have seen something, but there was a lot of contradicting factors. And even in real time, there's nothing that I would have done differently. And you have to constantly cheerlead yourself. It's the number one thing because what will happen is doubt will start to creep into your mind. It will start to creep into your strategy, especially on days where you're waiting 1, 2, 3, possibly even 4 days out of the week. Doubt will start to creep in. It'll be like, am I doing the right thing? Am I really following my rules? Everybody else is catching moves. Everybody else is, they're making profits. What am I doing wrong? There's something's wrong with me. I got to push a button. I got to see what happens. I got to, you know, obviously I'm doing something wrong here. Everybody else is making money. So yeah, this whole waiting thing, patience, this is stupid. And the reason I emphasize it like that is because this is what's going on internally, especially on or off the charts, especially when reviewing the day mentally, walking about, doing other things. It's internally, at least for me, what's happening. And even for myself, even with live streaming, even like today, I'll have a couple thoughts like, was I doing the right thing? Am I waiting too much? Am I being too patient? And then I have to reconvert myself. No, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. You're being patient. You're waiting in an environment that's not high probability. Okay, cool. And then if you need to look back, go back in your journal, look at the previous trades, the things where you waited on and it worked out in your favor. You need to lean on that in times where you start doubting, fear creeps in, anxiety. You need to lean on that. That's going to give you the confidence to be patient in times like this. So I know I usually start out every video like that as more or less a psychology talk because that's 90% of what's going on here. Some people don't want to hear the rants. Some people just want to talk about tacticals. That's cool. I could do that all day, but psychologically, this is what's going on. When I'm looking at these charts and what's happening today, that's what's running through my head. So looking at the weekly time frame, we're inside of a range in here. And this is why I'm not deeming it high probability. I'm not saying you can't pick off setups in here, but to expect a clean one-sided run is just not favorable to me. And today, even going into CPI and after the open, I was looking for lower prices. We got it a little bit, but I didn't get the full run like I wanted. And even ICT, I'm not saying this is an excuse, but he was also looking for the sell side. Does that mean, I thought about this today, I know I always say this is, if you get a bias wrong, but you didn't trade on it, it's not a mistake. You didn't do anything wrong. But somebody else could say, well, you got that wrong and I took a trade in that direction, so that means I'm right. I mean, that's cool, whatever. But in general, if I didn't take a trade on a certain idea and then the idea didn't work out, it's not a net loss to me. It doesn't mean I'm a bad analyst. Again, see what I'm doing there. I'm reprogramming my subconscious to understand that. You guys hear me say that over and over and over again because I'm training my mind to understand that it's okay. So overall, I mean, with sell side being beneath us, what would make me stand on the idea that I probably only want to look for a run lower for the rest of the week? That's particularly the only thing I'd be looking at. Why? Because we've already done the work above the buy side here. We've already taken out buy side. Not to say that there can't be a higher retracement before a drop lower. There very well can be. But if price is already taken out buy side, and if you look at the previous runs in here, we've constantly running down equity in a sense. We're constantly taking out highs. And this is what ICT would call more or less a 3 Indian head, 3 drive pattern. 1 drive, 2 drive, 3 drives, even 4 drives above buy side. And it's not really large, rapid displacement. It's a very take buy side, drop lower, take buy side, drop lower, take buy side, we drop lower in here, same thing. So when you see that, especially when you're nearing some highs, to me, it's telling me it's stalling out, really. And we're engineering a lot of sell side, meaning that there's more and more sell side being built in here than there was previously. And even after today, there's more. So unless I'm completely wrong, this is where, especially on a bias, on a narrative standpoint, I'm going to be stubborn. I'm going to stick my line in the sand and say, you know what, I'm only looking for shorts. And if I'm proved wrong and price moves higher, of course I can adjust with it if there's certain information that would allow me. But for right now, I'm not going to be touching the long side of the curve, because what will happen is, especially when you're inside of consolidative states on a daily time frame, what will happen is you'll have these intraday runs, whatever way, whether it's higher or lower, and it will immediately either snap back into the middle of the range, and you're caught off guard because you're trying to continuously look for an expansion higher or lower. But if you understand you're inside of a range, when you try to keep shorting or you try to keep longing, it's going to snap back into the range on you. And that's not a fun environment to be in. It's harder to capture moves. It's harder to be a part of moves. So you have to be very nimble. If you're going to be inside of these environments, you have to be very nimble, work very, very small ranges. But in general, I would like to stay out of it. I know it's a mouthful. I know it's a lot, but it's very good. It's, it's things that I would like to hear. If you look at it, we're moving sideways. It's not an ideal higher uptrend or lower downtrend, right? We're simply EQ the range basically from that high, from last week's high down on this low, or even this low here. So if you run a fib today, especially when we're nearing the silver bull at the end of it, we're sitting at smack dab basically EQ of the range that we're stuck in. We're a little bit above it currently. And I'm just not confident enough to want to keep pushing longs in this environment. With this much sell side, with buy side being already ran, it would make me weary of the idea to want to continuously push higher prices. So I have to sit still. That's my particular style, and the way I teach is, if we're in this type of state, I'm only going to pick one side and I'm going to just go with it. So that's where I'm at currently. I'm going to stick on that bias. I'm going to stick, my line in the sand and say, you know what, that's it. And if I'm proved wrong, people can laugh at me and make fun of me. It's cool. But that's the way I'm sitting at it. Okay. If you look here, these down close candles you extended out to your right, that is a bearish breaker. So you have a bearish breaker with a SIBI, and I'm curious tomorrow, and I believe that this week is being held for core PPI on Thursday. We have 5 red news event drivers on Friday. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we don't see a lot of action either. So I know it's like, oh man, I got to wait another day. Well, that's what it takes. And if that's what it is, then so be it. I don't make the rules around here, so I can't get upset about it. And I know if this sell side is still intact by Thursday and we're still haven't gravitated higher and we're still in range bound, I'm fairly confident we're running for the sell side. So that's what I'm viewing today. I'll go over the entire morning session, but today was CPI in the morning, and there's just nothing in here. Even in hindsight, I would have really been a fan of. I think the delivery was a little bit sloppy. I'm not confident in one way or the other right now. Like, I want to lean on sell side, but I'm very weary of the idea of, price doing what we did today. So if you look on lower time frames, it's probably going to give you the clearest view of it. I think the open was decent. It was just dug into a reclaimed SIBI, and then from there we just sold off without really any other entry pattern. So this is the open. Price runs up into this reclaimed SIBI and sells off. In the morning, we were watching with ICT. I took a trade on a challenge count, and he was looking at this inversion to hold. So that didn't ultimately work out, but he still somehow managed to take out profits on a day. I'm not sure exactly what he managed, but overall, I was looking for lower prices. Even him himself, he was. And when I was rolling into the silver bullet, this is why I like time. This is why I like silver bullet, because time does majority of the heavy lifting for me. So by the silver bullet, we are keying off of a few levels. There was this premium SIBI here. And so people ask me, why did I not short on here, even though my bias was short? Because I was looking for the sell side to be ran into, these two levels down here. I wanted to see that traded into today. But coming into the silver bullet, I could see this really, really deep retracement on it. And by then it's kind of alerting to me, well, maybe that's not going to be a good shorting opportunity. Maybe that's not going to be correct. So in that situation, if I'm fearful or I have the emotion of, man, I don't want to miss it either. I don't, I have the idea of going short, but now it's kind of giving me mixed signals. Well, what you can do is wait for a displacement away from it. And if you don't catch the best risk to reward or whatever, it's fine. There's always another entry, especially if your bias is correct. If you had to wait for something like this, which I would have today, if price did play out, then I could have just got along with price. And then here protected me because I'm not trying to short up here, especially with this rapid displacement higher. We're closing above the SIBI in here, alerting to me, yeah, that trade idea is probably not correct. And I wasn't looking for higher prices. So did it catch me off guard? In a sense, yeah, I really wasn't looking for higher prices. Does that mean am I a bad analyst and somebody that, I need to change something? No, because there's going to be times where I just don't see something like this happening. And more or less when you're in a consolidated state on a higher time frame, things like this are going to happen where you're just kind of blindsided, like, whoa, I didn't really see that happening. And people caught longs in here and you're like, you know what, I don't know how you didn't see that. There were beautiful longs. Well, that's just my personal opinion and what I was viewing today. I didn't personally see that. I mean, even our own mentor was not looking for higher prices. So that kind of gives me a confirmation within myself that, you know what, man, like even ICT himself was not looking for this run higher today. The only thing I could have seen as an entry to go long today was this inefficiency here and the support of the inversion. So you extend out the SIBI to your right, and then you have the down close candle there, which I annotated in real time. And this green line there is the new week opening gap. So there's a few confluences, but what's wrong with this in my eyes? What's wrong with that is it's going against the overall narrative and what I was looking for. And I couldn't see price moving higher. There was no way in real time where I could objectively see price moving higher. So I was either electing to see, okay, well, price is either going to move sideways, which I don't want to enter into a long, which is opposite of my bias for the day, and price reverses on me, goes the direction I thought, or we just go consolidation. So, I mean, do I feel like I missed out on a move in here? No, price just moved. That's it. So it's the way I view when things like this happen, where I didn't view this in the real time that like this was going to happen, and I just didn't I wasn't a part of it. I know there's plenty of people on social media that caught this today, and people even tweeted at me that they caught it, and that's awesome. I mean, again, we're all individuals in the way we view the market, but from my viewpoint, my experience, that's just not something that is favorable. So moving into after the silver bullet, moving into the PM session, again, this is where I can see the model. I could see where price in hindsight is reacting off of an even real time. Like I was annotating those levels. I can see it reacting off of that. I understand that price can do that. There's just certain factors that would eliminate me to want to push a long setup in here. And I've already mentioned this on the consolidating daily time frame. Dollar index is not agreeing. These type of things, even though the model's there, I could go through this. There's actually really clean entries in here. I think the shorting side was decent. Even the long side was decent. But overall, when it's not agreeing with my bias and what I'm looking for the day, I'm more than likely going to get something wrong. So I'm getting off the charts. Regardless, I was done by the silver bullet. But overall, if this happened within the silver bullet, if it's not agreeing with what I was looking for that day and I'm wrong on my bias, that means something's up. That means that either the market's not trading correctly to where I particularly like it, my preference, or I'm completely dead wrong. The human in me, the actions, the errors, the perception is wrong. So when I get a bias wrong or something like this, that probably means that overall I need to stop trading. And that's exactly what I did. So I wouldn't feel any type of guilt, and I don't, but I'm trying to relate to somebody else who is maybe watching this and feels guilt and feels emotions about missing certain moves today. And if you didn't participate, I think you did a great job. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. At least in my viewpoint, the way I trade, I wouldn't have touched this today. And if you understand that if you wait for a clear one-sided directional day, how easy it is, how simple it can be. When you just point here, I say, all right, going into silver bullet today, guys, we're going to go here. And price drops lower, prints the model. I get into the position. Price moves away quickly, swiftly away from the entry pattern. I'm able to peel off partials, trail my stop loss. We gravitate right into the sell side liquidity. That's super easy trading. That's exactly the environments and the things that I'm looking for. I'm not trying to flip-flop my analysis. I'm not trying to go against my bias on higher time frames. I'm not trying to go against dollar index. Those type of things, it makes me weary to do anything. Why would I want to do that? I'm not putting all the odds in my favor. So I'm very particular and peculiar about my setups and the way I view the market. And I know a lot of you actually really enjoy it, which is awesome to see. And I know it's helped a ton of you, but I'm just saying, as far as critics or people that even doubt themselves when they watch this type of environment, or they relate to me and they feel guilt or just fear missing out, I mean, it's fine. You have to understand that this model works. This style really does work. Like it's the more or less the better optimal way of trade. So I think that's going to be it for today. I know it was a little bit longer of a video, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. We only have one red folder tomorrow, which is the bond auction, which is after the AM session. So we don't really have anything during the AM session. I'm going to be weary of the idea of tomorrow as well. I have to be honest with you all, because we have 5 red news event drivers on Thursday. So the market may be held until that. They may be stuck in this range until Thursday. So if you come into tomorrow and you're like, why the hell is the market not moving? Well, I'm already anticipating that. So I'm preparing myself mentally for it. If something changes and we can look for lower prices, then so be it. So that's going to be it for today's video. Until tomorrow, good luck and good trading, everybody. Be safe.